Hello and welcome to Inside Eugene, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the City of Eugene's Library, Recreation, and Cultural Services Department. I'm your host, Marin Stewart. Each week, we dive into the stories, people, and programs that make our community vibrant and connected. This week, we're celebrating National Dance Week, a vibrant showcase of Eugene's dynamic dance culture. Joining us today is the wonderful Jana Mazaros, the Farmers Market Pavilion steward for the Cultural Services Division. Jana has been instrumental in helping produce National Dance Week and bringing dance to people of all ages and backgrounds here in Eugene. Today, we'll explore the exciting events planned for National Dance Week, the impact of dance on our community, and what participants can look forward to. Let's get started. Welcome, Jana.
Hi, thank you, Marin, for having me.
So tell me about National Dance Week. What is it? When is it? All that good stuff.
So National Dance Week is a nationwide celebration of dance. It's been going on for a long time, I think since the 80s. And every year, different dance communities around the country key in at the same time to celebrate dance. National Dance Week begins on April 18th and runs through the week, so through April 25th.
So tell me about the events that are going to comprise National Dance Week this year.
Sure. So every year we do a little bit of a different recipe for what we focus on for National Dance Week. This year, by popular demand, we are bringing back the kickoff performance on April 18th at the Farmers Market Pavilion. Free, open to all ages. We'll have a lot of stuff to do, a lot of amazing dance performances to see, followed by an outdoor performance on the 19th. That's the Saturday, the next day at Kesey Square. And then throughout the week, there are workshops, classes, performances all over the city produced by the dance community. And you can find a listing of those in the guide that we put together every year.
That sounds like a fun time. And I assume that's all ages, all abilities, all that good stuff.
All ages, all abilities. Everyone is welcome. You'll see the dance community in Eugene is really rich. There's a lot of people dancing here. There's a lot of people who are dedicating their lives to movement as an art form. And what we try to invite during National Dance Week is for some of that artistic exchange to happen. And through the opening showcase and the Downtown Dances performance, you'll see a massive breadth of work, whether it's culturally specific dances, whether it's different forms, different groupings, different abilities. Like, it's just incredible. It's a beautiful spectrum.
What is that kickoff party going to look like?
Oh, the kickoff is a blast. It's a big free event. The format of the kickoff party is based on a form of performance that's like a rapid fire show. So we are packing a ton of groups into a short amount of time. It's perform. We've got the dancers lined up. We are moving through the shows. It's small pieces done quickly. And in that way, everybody gets an opportunity to show off what they're up to.
That's awesome. And do you typically see a large draw from the community coming to watch this? How packed is that pavilion going to be?
We usually get a pretty good showing for this event. The fact that we've got so many corners of the dance community coming and representing is a really, really wonderful thing. And when we have these shows, whether at the pavilion or before the pavilion was built, we had them in the park blocks and throughout downtown, you are just looking around and seeing just smiling faces, experiencing like beauty. It's really, really lovely.
And do you find a lot of these groups, are they returning groups? Do we usually have a lot of new groups? Kind of what does that look like?
Sure. In Eugene, there are a massive amount of really dedicated dance organizations. And so often we're seeing those dedicated dance organizations that have been around for a while who are doing really awesome, innovative things coming through. We love it when there's new folks as well. Like, it's just wonderful to welcome in new organizations, new companies who are doing their thing, to see kind of what they're wanting to do, how the dance scene is evolving. I feel like there's just so much rich work happening in Eugene all the time, which is pretty exceptional for a town our size, I must say.
Yeah, we're no Portland, right? But we do have a really big dance community relative to our small size.
Exactly.
Love that. That's awesome. And you're a dancer yourself, right? So tell me a little bit about your background with that.
I performed during National Dance Week before I ever got on with the city. It was my pleasure to continue the tradition of National Dance Week once I became a producer here. Dance has been my lifelong passion. So I'm a dancer and a choreographer and an independent artist. I dance with companies here in town. And I just truly, truly believe in the power of dance for so many reasons. Like, that's a whole podcast in itself.
Awesome. Why is National Dance Week important to the broader community?
In my experience, dancers are incredibly dedicated, incredibly hardworking, and often sometimes kind of siloed into their own little corner of the world, doing their work, making incredible art, having these amazing educational programs. And National Dance Week to me is a moment where we can all come together and share what we do with each other and celebrate one another and say, hey, like what we are doing is bigger than ourselves. What we are doing is tapping into this massive network of just incredible live art. And that is so special.
Absolutely. How do you select which dance organizations or artists get to participate or help put on events?
There is a process that we go through every year where we invite dancers and folks from the dance community to come together and weigh in on what National Dance Week should be for the year. And so every year, that's how we start the process. It's very much a collaborative, generative conversation to begin the process. And we try to include everyone who wants to be a part of it. So we really try to make it as inclusive as possible. We don't own National Dance Week, right? National Dance Week is like a phenomenon across the country. And so people are doing things for National Dance Week all the time, regardless of whether the city of Eugene produces anything or not. What we try to do is create some programming that allows for dancers to come, perform, teach, share, and get paid to do it. And so we have open artist calls at the beginning of the year, every year, to kind of gauge interest and see who wants to perform, who wants to be a part of it. And then that's where we begin the sort of scheduling of everything. And so we always have a great response to the artist call. In the dance community, everyone is game to show up.
That's awesome. So you get a lot of participation, it sounds like, both from participants and from the organizations that help put it on.
Exactly, yeah.
That's great. How many years has it been going on?
The first City of Eugene National Dance Week was in 2019. So we have been through a plethora of pivots, and the programming has been really flexible based on the pandemic and what's happened in the last 6 years. And so we got used to real quick modeling what National Dance Week is every year based on what it felt like it should be every year. So it's really never been locked into a specific structure. And it's just been an incredible journey from 2019 to now to see like how things have changed, how things have stayed the same.
And do you know of any other like city governments that do something like this?
Good question. I believe we're the only city government that I know of that supports a National Dance Week collaboration, although there are National Dance Week events that happen in studio culture, in higher academia, in different institutions throughout the country. I think it's really special that our government here at the city is so supportive of arts and culture in different specific modalities is, I think, a beautiful gift that I'm just really happy to be a part of.
Yeah. What are some challenges you've encountered while organizing these events?
Sure. Well, the biggest challenge for sure in the last few years is COVID. And 2021, we came back, but very tentatively. And we spread out all of the performances throughout downtown. So there were shows happening on street corners, in plazas, in front of businesses. Like, it was like taking a show and social distancing it as much as we possibly could throughout the entire downtown. And that was a really special event. And I think it is truly a testament to this is a pun I'm going to say now, the flexibility of dancers that when encountering a challenge or a need to shift, the response is largely enthusiasm and creativity. And that was what we experienced then. And to a certain extent, that's what we experience every year with this community. It's really wonderful to work in a place where folks, the stakeholders who are a part of the celebration, are ready with ideas, ready to weigh in on what they'd like, and really show up with quality work and participation. It's beautiful.
Awesome. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. What do you hope that participants will get out of National Dance Week? If they could come away with something, what would that be after attending one of the events?
For me as an experienced dancer, I absolutely adore getting together and seeing some of my friends. I love going to some of those open studio classes and taking a form that I haven't in a while. I love being surrounded by people who are passionate about movement. What I love to see others experience is maybe somebody who doesn't consider themselves a dancer feels welcome to a studio for the first time, or when someone who is very focused on one form of dance decides to branch out and learn something new that helps inform their own training. What I love to see is people moving in any capacity that feels good to their body. During the showcase, we usually have a little bit of audience participation, which is totally optional. And in that moment, after being surrounded by this live art form, there's a moment where then you're invited to also move. And in that moment, you have the option to be free with your movement. And that's a moment that we don't always get all the time. There is something so special and kind of spiritual about expressing yourself through an artistic medium where the medium is you. And during National Dance Week, there are the opportunities to engage with yourself as your own art medium.
That was beautiful. I love that.
Is that too highbrow?
No, not at all. I think that was awesome. Kind of off of what you were saying about, people who might not necessarily be dancers, can you speak to the diversity and accessibility of National Dance Week?
Yes. So there's always been an element of accessibility focus in National Dance Week. As we work with a company called Danceability, they're performing this Friday, and the intent with their performance is to show that you don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to have a certain set of abilities in order to dance. And we hope that by showing this kind of large spectrum of different types of dance, different communities of dance, different humans moving, that we can encourage folks who might not see themselves traditionally in a dance capacity realize that any movement is dance. Any movement is dancing.
Awesome. Glad to hear that. How do you imagine or envision National Dance Week growing or evolving in future years? What would be your ideal?
It truly is an event that is meant to be a public service for the dance community and the folks in Eugene who wish to engage with dance. And so our greatest goal for this every year is to be open to hearing the desires and the needs of the dance community and the dance stakeholders and what people want to do. And so if that means offering what we're offering this year again next year, because that's what's desired, then we are up for it. If that means evolving to a different structure, we're up for that too. It really is meant to be, hey, we're at your service, let's focus on dance in the way that feeds the community the best we can.
That's awesome. Yeah, as city employees and as cultural services, especially, being flexible and fitting the community's needs is absolutely top priority. So that's great. Can you tell me any impactful particular stories from previous participants in past years, or any specific instance where you kind of realize the impact of National Dance Week on somebody or a group?
Yeah, I'm going to tell this story from the pandemic year, from 2021, when we came back and did dances that were socially distanced, it was a logistical challenge to have 10 different locations where performers were performing that were across the entire downtown core. Was a major operation. And in order to ground us at the beginning of that day, before we kind of split off and went to all of our different performance locations, we came together in the park blocks and made a massive circle, giant circle, because we were still social distancing, but we wanted to be in the same vicinity. We began with a breathing exercise. And as we were breathing, we were instructed to look around the circle at every person that was in the circle. And as we're going around, I'm noticing, we're all masked at this point, but I'm noticing that I'm tearing up a little bit, and I'm looking around and I'm seeing others tear up a bit, because we have just endured almost a year of social isolation and collective trauma based on everything that happened in 2020, not just the pandemic, the racial reckoning period of time, the wildfires in Oregon. It was a wild year. And we're in the circle and we're about to all perform together. Most of us, that was our first performance back since everything stopped in 2020. And so that moment felt like an incredible healing moment for me, and I think for others too. I think that moment in essence showed this like fantastic example of how vital moving together and being together can be.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can just imagine that being such an emotional moment.
It was wonderful.
Awesome. Well, my last question for you is just any message you would like to leave with our listeners regarding dance or participating in National Dance Week.
I'd like to just say, come on down. I'd like to just say, if you have ever wanted to be a part of dance in any way, this is a great way to engage. You can join us on the kickoff showcase. You can stop by the Saturday show. That'll be at noon on Saturday in Kesey Square. Or you can engage with any of the long list of things going on at different locations all throughout Eugene by going to our website and checking out the National Dance Week guide. I hope that you find some movement and some good feelings and join us again and again.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you so much, Jana. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thanks, Marin.